university. Need-based scholarships, and these are scholarships which are offered in terms of the need. So we can either have scholarships which have been tailored specifically for women, scholarships which are offered for people with physical disability. Is called university. So this university is scholarship to apply for any university, maybe in the UK or the US. Beauty of university which have their own pool of resources. So once you apply and they think you have met their own qualifications, they can offer you a scholarship. And then finally, you have talent-based support. There are several scholarships which are available. So which courses are covered by this? We have scholarship. They don't restrict an individual to particular course. So you can have scholarship. Once you win the scholarship, you can apply a scholarship if you are doing health courses, environmental, agriculture, education. Basically, all courses scholarship available. In general, what we need in order for us to apply for this scholarship, the next thing, if you click at the link of this scholarship, the requirement. And the requirement, they're basically almost the same. So all the scholarship will require you to write a personal statement. I think one of us is going to touch about it. You also need to apply for those courses that you want to go. Of course, will require you to scout which university do you want, which one do you think you are qualified, which kind of requirements do you have, do you think they want to for those university. Then some scholarship, they require you to undergo an interview, which I think Anderson will touch briefly about it. And finally, you also need to show that once these donors they fund you, which kind of career you're going to have afterwards. Of course, no one will fund someone and then you benefit it alone. It's being offered there is for the good of the community. So as you apply, make sure that you're sure that you have an interest in the community to help the community. So I think that is a brief overview about scholarship, and I will also, at the end of our presentation, we'll create time so that you guys can ask questions. So from here, I want to invite her, who will take us through the process of course application, and then we'll move on from there. Linda?
Yes, I'm just sharing my slides. Can you see them?
Yeah. So
Yes,
as Linda continues with the presentation, could you please share your questions via the chat section? And of course, at the end of presentation, we will also give a chance for people to ask their question. All to you, Linda.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm just really quickly going to give an overview of the course requirements and what kind of postgraduate courses there are. And then we'll just briefly go over the different steps and when to start preparing for those. Of postgraduate courses, and it really is up to you what you think is due. So one of the categories is taught masters, so the most common options there, and similar in nature to undergraduate degrees. So they mostly consist of short courses, sometimes a dissertation at the end, but mostly coursework and exams at the end of it. Then there's also research masters, which are particularly common in the United Kingdom, which are between 1 to 3 years and really focus on independent and are really good to start with if you are considering moving on to doctoral research. So these really focus on independent learning and give you a lot more hands-on practice generally than taught master's courses. So if you feel like you already got a lot of background knowledge and would like to get more practical experience, then the research master could be a better fit for you. Professional masters, so these include teaching degrees as well as medical degrees, and these are very geared towards employability in a particular sector, and they're usually very competitive to keep in mind. And then the final one is PhDs and other doctorate options, which I would say requires the most work to apply for. So it's extra hard on time, especially in the humanities sector, as you have to write your own research proposal, and those vary significantly from one another. So sometimes you get an apply, which is more common in Europe, to an already existing project, and you basically just do a job application or equivalent. Whereas if you go to United Kingdom or United States, part of the process is to write your own proposal and think carefully about what you would like to work on. So to do a doctorate, one of the requirements really is to have a master's degree involved in the application process. Multiple steps here, so we'll just go through them all, and then we will touch upon some of those in more details. So the first step and the most important step is to choose your degree and what universities will offer to apply to. So what's incredibly important there is to check all the deadlines. Yeah, so for example, if you would like to go and study them, then for entry in October next year, then applications have already closed. So that will be done the December or January the year before. And that's also when most scholarship deadlines are. And given most of you will want to go on a scholarship, that's the deadline you really have to keep in mind, as otherwise you can still be admitted to the course, but all funding has already been given out, in which case it's not quite as helpful. Yeah, so decide what kind of degree you do. So what fits in with the trajectory you've had so far in your academic career, where do your interests lie, and what do you have the degree to further on into your career, either abroad or back in Kenya. What we're doing is to start filling out the application portal. So those are often very basic details like your name, and you can also see what the application consists of. So fortune supply and time is approximately going to take you. The things you need is a certified copy of, you want just your higher education transcript, so your grades from your undergraduate degree, and some universities will also ask for your high school grades, which is particularly common if you're applying for undergraduate degrees, which we won't go into so much today, but especially if you want to apply for a master's, then having your transcript ready is incredibly important. And just to note there is that if your transcripts are not in English, you'll need to get them translated, as they need to often be written in a language that can be understood by the panel that is reviewing your application, and sometimes they're related to different types of grades. So for example, if you'd like to apply to the US, if the grade system in Kenya is different, they often need to be translated into a GPA score, which is something between 1 and 4. And so there's different separate organizations that can help you with that. And sometimes that costs some money. So that's important to take into account as well. So start writing your personal statement, which Tracy will touch upon later, so I won't go into that in detail. But that really consists of 1 to 2 pages as to why you want to do the degree, why that particular university, and why you are a good fit. So you can really get out all the examples of what you've done so far in your career to work towards that particular degree, and where you can see your career going from there. Yeah, so they would really like, well, why do we want to get this candidate? So what experience do they already have that can be helpful for this degree, and what do they want to do with all they've learned after it? One of the things which is optional and is only a requirement for some courses, standardized. So that is mostly common in the United States. Things like the GRE test, the MCAT, and for some universities, especially undergraduate degree, there might also be standardized tests. Not quite as common when you go to important to check. Whether you need to do a standardized test, it costs quite a bit of money. It's important to take that into account when you apply for universities. We go to the second half. First things you need to do then, something else that you might need to supply is an English proficiency test. So if you're going to start a postgraduate degree at an international university, they want to know that your English is at high enough academic level for you to get by during the course. So if you've already done a full-time degree or you've gone an IB or Cambridge certificate in your undergraduate or exempt from the requirements for that. If not, you need to do a TOEFL or IELTS test before applying abroad. So scores requirements really vary per degree. So again, check that beforehand, because for example, if you're going to study English literature, the level is often much higher than if you would want to study science, and also depends on different universities. So have a look at the university you'd like to apply to, and whether you need a test, and if so, what scores you would need on the test to see how much preparation you need to do for it. As well as scholarships, your recommendation, and this really depends on the program as to how many they ask, but that often is about 2 or 3. And they can be either academic or professional, and this is something I'll focus on a bit more in one of my next slides, just to see how can you really choose the right recommenders. And one other thing though, one resume or your CV, so that really just says 1 to 3 pages, however much experience you have. It depends on whether you've just come out of your undergraduate straight away, or whether you already have some working experience. Just want an overview of your educational, professional, and your volunteering experience. Yeah, so anything that is relevant you can put on there. So don't any community or volunteering work if you think it contributes to the degree you'd like to apply to, because they're not just interested in your academic career, but would also like to see what you've done outside of your studies. Important if you got any honors, so if you've already received any scholarships or fellowships or honors in your studies, don't forget to put that on. There's either boxes in most application portals to put that on in a separate tab, and otherwise just make sure you mention it in your personal statement or on your CV, just as it shows that you've already been academically very strong in the process, and so that's obviously what they would like to see. The last thing is that sometimes there's an application fee, so check this beforehand. Sometimes applicants for low and middle income countries can be exempt, which Kenya falls under. So sometimes you won't have to pay this, but it's sometimes if you apply to 4 and 5 universities and the application fee is between $50 or $100 US, then it can really add up. So just make sure you check whether there is a fee, whether you really like that university, and also you to either get that money back afterwards, or whether you might be exempt from it, depending on where you're applying from. Yeah, and then as I said, there's 2 very degree specifics. One is that they might sometimes ask for some writing samples of previous essays or coursework you've handed in, and if you apply for a PhD, then also your project or your proposal is very important. And so in this case, it's important that you've done a master's degree and have a better idea of where your specific interests lie and what you'd like to continue your research career on. Last thing I'll touch upon before I'll take questions, and I'll hand over to other people to go further into details about scholarships and personal statements. I just quickly wanted to say something about your recommenders, because I would say this is really one of the most important things of your application, because your CV and your transcript you can't change, but you can really make a lot of impact and be a very impressive candidate by who you choose as your recommenders. Yeah, so a few things to take into account and take into consideration is that institutions really care about the content of the letter, not necessarily just about the title or the status of the person who wrote it. Yeah, so they're really far more interested in your accomplishments as the individual applying than those of your recommender. So even though it can be very tempting to ask the dean or the head of your university, if they don't know you personally at all, it might be better to ask someone who's closer to you and has a slightly lower title. Obviously, if you can get a combination of both, that's even better. But I'm sure that a lot of you, if you have very big, large classes in undergraduate degree, you might not have interacted with very senior academics, and so this can be hard. Strongest letters come from individuals who've interacted with the applicant very closely, extensively, and also recently. So typically in the last 2 to 3 years. So they really want a kind of character reference and get to know who you are as a person and how you work academically. Universities say there's usually a preference for academic references, so those people you've met throughout your university degree. It can be worth if they have a better idea of your academic skills and your leadership skills. So let's say you've done a lot of volunteering work with a big organization, or you've worked for a while and you've really worked quite closely together with these people, even if they might not have an academic title, if they've been your superior and have a very good idea of your workings and what you can add to a degree or to university, then it might be worth asking them. Yeah, and so the final thing, it's very inappropriate to ask a family member or a friend to provide a recommendation letter. So it's a bit of a tricky balance there, but you want people that know you well enough to be able to say something about you personally, but then also not have, for example, your sister or your mum write you a letter, because that's not quite as reliable. So I would like to leave it at that for now, and then hand over to other people for some details on especially the personal statement, the scholarship applications. So if you have any question in the meantime, I'm happy to answer those.
So thank you so much, Linda, for the presentation. I don't know if you still have time, Linda. Should we take anyone with questions? You'll wait. Are you around or?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm around now. I'm not sure I'll be later, but I can try and come back. I just have to do some lab work, but then I can try and come back towards the end of the session for questions.
Okay, fine. So if you have any question, you can stick it on our chat box. Okay, so we'll move on to the next speaker. I don't know if anyone has a specific question for Linda. So Tracy,
I'll pick some from the chat later, but I think there's a lot of questions, so we might also have to address some maybe via email and get back to people personally if we can't address them all right now.
Okay, sure. We welcome Tracy now. This is going to take us through personal statement. So as I said earlier, personal statement is one of the key things that is required when applying for scholarship. So Tracy will take us through how do you apply for personal statement. Yeah, so welcome, Tracy.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're well. Just give me a minute, I share my screen, and then we can go right through it. Showing, but not the slideshow.
A slideshow, but it's showing.
A minute. My name is Dr. Tracy Irura. A resident clinical oncologist in Alexandria University in Egypt. I am a Kenyan citizen. I currently am under a Nile-Basin scholarship. So this is one of the scholarships that Gideon talked about. It is a diplomatic scholarship in between governments. I was able to acquire it, we'll talk about it, but I was able to acquire it through application, mainly the personal statement. Because your personal statement is what makes the difference between you to be picked for a particular scholarship. All right, I will start with definition of terms. So a career is an occupation undertaken for a specific period of time. What is important in a career is that it has to make you progress as a person. So that is the difference between being in a job and being in a career. A career, you must progress as a person. The plan, you must always have a plan. sometimes you can have a plan that is, but you kind of know what you want to do when you finish. So I did train as a medical doctor. I have been a medical doctor for almost 10 years now, 7 to 10 years now. And when I finished my training, I was not very sure on what masters to take. So your plan, you can know what you want, but probably you're not very sure on what masters to take. So I will talk about this also. Academics is school. But what is important is that the Hedgehogs Principle. So we have circle A, B, and C fuse somewhere, and this is the red part of these circles. So circle A is what you love doing. Okay, these are your interests, your passions, your values in life. Circle B stands for what your skills are. What are you good at? And then circle C, it has to be in a viable industry. At the end of the day, you have to make money. About. So where circles fuse, where these circles meet, is what we call, we have won in terms of career, in terms of what you're supposed to do. So how do you know what you're, I will talk about this later, but mainly there are tests you can do to check what kind of personality you have. Career, for instance, career has numerous facets. There are some people in the pharmaceutical industry. There are some people who are doctors. Others are running private practices. Others are not even practicing medicine. So what makes you different and what makes you whatever you want is based on your skills. Your career must also be very good with what you're good at. All right. So career planning, of course, what have you trained for? What is your motivation? What success? How do you climb the career ladder? What are you as a person? What are your qualifications that you must list? So I know most of the audience are either undergraduate students looking to go into a master's program, or undergraduates, people from high school going into undergraduate. So your degree, whatever you're studying, should also boost you into your next master's. If you're already a master's, it should boost you into a PhD. So forth. Is what keeps you up at night. Are you a community person? Gideon talked about this. When you apply for a scholarship, very authentic. What makes you different is what you are as a person. So what keeps you up at night? What is your motivation? Why do you want to get this scholarship? Success. You have to have quite good GPAs to get there. Your GPA is equally important. Your qualifications, I've talked about this. What course have you done? For something that you have not done. Your goal, where you want to be in the next 5 years in terms of career line, career ladder. For medicine, as soon as you finish med school, you go into internship. It's given you go into what we call medical officers, general practitioners. After that, maybe you can do a master's. So you have to go through the career so that you go up the ranks. And weaknesses. So these are some of the personality tests you can do online. What you're good at. Are you a person who likes sitting at the desk? Are you a person who likes talking to people? Are you a person who is very inter? So that, and you check your strengths and weaknesses. And then your checklist. Any scholarship. Scholarships, as we said, like the Nile Basin scholarship I am on, it's a partial scholarship. They pay for your education, but in terms of travel expenses, all these expenses are on you. So your finances have to be in order for you to apply for some of the scholarships, and of course, emotional support. All right, so I will talk about the personal statement. The personal statement, as I said, it has to be authentic. So you have to first go through the scholarship. What do they want? These are what you call the technical details. How many words do they need? Do not, once you have messed up on the technical details, your application will be thrown out because it's just a small thing. So make sure your technical details are correct. How many words are they need? What kind of spacing? What kind of don't copy also other people. What kind of text do they want? Your details are quite important because this is the first place that your application goes to, the technical team, and then after that it goes to the next person. for a scholarship, you need to prepare your personal statement well. Do not mention the colleges by name, because you can use the same personal statement for different colleges and different places. And what you should include is what you're interested in. And then how will this scholarship help you, and not help you, help the community you're coming from? This is very important to most people who give scholarships, because they don't want to help one person. They want to help a community. So they need to know what kind of community work are you doing before, what kind of activities are you doing in. When you finish this education or whatever they've given you, are you going to go back and make an impact in your community? To what to include. And then other things are like your activity, what you normally do, your hobbies, because some of these things, if you like a particular thing and someone else likes something else, it kind of impacts your application. And then how to write it. The first thing you all need to start with is your introduction. Your opening statement must be strong. So your opening statement is what keeps the attention of the reader. It is your introduction, and it encourages the reader to keep on going. What to include in order to, in what is more relevant. You go through your, you want a certain scholarship from a certain person or a certain, and through what they are looking for. Okay, these are things I need to include. I will share my own personal statement, and you can probably ask questions if you have any. And then your conclusion, your commitment to finish the education, your skills to that you're going to acquire and how they will help you. And always make sure your grammar, your punctuation, the things that you should not mess up on. We should start well. Make it easy to read. Don't use very complex words. Use examples. Use examples of things you have already done or things that you want to achieve when you get this education. Try to make it authentic. Let it be something that is very authentic to yourself. And then let it be personal. Personality must show in terms of you make it original. The next person has not written the same thing, so you can't copy and paste from the internet. It's something that is personal. What's your passion, for instance? I will tell you about myself. So being a medical doctor, I got this Nile Basin scholarship because I knew I wanted to become an oncologist. So I am training as a clinical oncologist. What is my personality, the way I let personality in my personal statement is that I have a passion for people to get access to good healthcare, affordable healthcare, and everyone should get quality healthcare. So this is my own personal, as a person, is very important to me. So I always include it in terms of any personal statement I write, or even on my LinkedIn profile. This is something that is important to me. Everybody, whatever cadre you come from, wherever you come from, everyone should be able to access quality. So the other thing is to answer the questions, just in case you've been asked any questions that probably the scholarship wants to know about you or whatever. Work experience, even if it's not formal work, maybe you just went to a healthcare center and you saw some patients, because this shows your commitment to the community. You want to help people. And then you write in your own voice. Whatever your voice is, it's your personality. How you express yourself, as personal as you can be. So I will talk a bit about my own personal journey into getting the Nile Basin scholarship. As I told you, I started as an intern. In 2016, I graduated and I was a medical doctor. And I knew I wanted to become an oncologist because of some of the challenges I see in the oncology field, and I thought I could solve them. So one of the challenges I see in Kenya, for instance, is that we are unable, or the drugs that going into. So oncology has shifted from chemotherapy and radiotherapy to more targeted therapies, but these therapies are not cheap. One of my passions is to provide these therapies to everyone. Every Kenyan patient who comes into your oncology practice should be able to afford these drugs. So for me, this is what keeps me up at night. How can I make this different? How can I make this change? So I started an oncologist. Another thing that really helps is to see what is on the ground. So look for a mentor. It's important to sit under wise counsel and look for a mentor, someone you want to be like, someone you don't want to be like, you want to be like them. So look for a good mentor and you ask them these questions. How much does this career pay? What does daily work look like? How many hours do you work? This is important because it boosts you also into finishing the course. Some of the courses are very, very long. I have been in residency for the last 4 years. So it's a long time. So you need the commitment, you need to keep on going, and you need that boost, okay? And then in 2017 is when I was awarded the Nile Basin Scholarship. It's a diplomatic scholarship. It is online. We shall share a lot of these scholarships in the chat box later, but you just make sure that you follow what they need, and your personal statements should be strong. But this is, the Nile Basin Scholarship, it does award mainly medical scholarships, but it does award financial scholarships as well. And then in 2020, I was very privileged to meet the team that does run this that has brought you this talk today. So in 2020, I joined the organization, and I am the chief of this organization, ICRF. So our main aim, as Hudson had talked about, is mainly research and also making oncology better in Kenya. Okay, so I am to finish my master's here in the next 2 weeks. All right, so this is my own application. I was applying for a preceptorship in a national organization. So this is how I write. But this is not really a personal statement, but it is one. So let's write why you want to get this. Why should they choose you? And you always have to attach, as Linda said, you have to attach your CV. And then you see why you're interested in this current one. How will it help you? I was already an practicing resident oncologist. So this short course that was supposed to boost me into knowing a certain cancer better. So you tell them why you want to know this cancer better so that you can serve sub-Saharan Africa better, because this cancer is very common in Sub-Saharan Africa. So these are some of the things that you will convince them with. And then you also say that you like the institution, you want, you like. So you like it because they are global, they have a global heritage, and their reputation has been long-standing, and it's a benchmark of excellence. Okay, and then you also say your skills. This is where you say your skills. So this is your area to put a lot of your personality into. So my skills, I'm high degree of professionalism. I'm mature, I'm confident, I'm well-developed. I have well-developed interpersonal skills at all levels. I'm highly motivated. I am organized. I'm a visionary professional. So these are some of the things you say. I'm able to work well under pressure. I'm flexible to different positive attitudes, whatever. And then the other thing that you say is about your passions. So you can say that I have a passion to learn. I'm a good student, and these sort of things. But also make sure that you're technical, as I said, technical, whatever they need. If they need any technical number of words, grammar, those things should always be on point. The next part. So yeah, as I said, medicine, I am in the medical career. Medicine has many facets. So these are the things that you ask yourself. So it is a platform to jump the next thing. Ask yourself, what does a day look like in this profession I'm going into? As we said, today we're talking about scholarships and fellowships, how to apply for this. Always look for a solid mentor, someone who has best interests at heart. Application for scholarships is a very tedious process, but it works. It does work. Sometimes they need a lot of documentation, a lot of referees, and some of this. Okay, so this is my email address. If you have any questions, if you have anything else to ask me, please feel free to ask me. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy, for that session. I think we'll also, the session that we are going to have next, I think will be guided by Victor. We'll talk about career and what happens after you are through with your scholarship. We'll also touch about how do you tailor your personal statement in terms of career afterwards. So let me welcome Victor to also give a talk in the next 10 minutes. And then finally, Anderson will wrap up with his personal journey. Yeah, so thank you so much, Victor.
Yes, so good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, I didn't prepare a presentation, but I don't think I have anything else to add other than what the speakers before me have said. So personally, I just want to talk about career progression, and I'm Kenyan too, and I know that most of us are always very impatient, you know, and I'm speaking generally. Maybe this applies to you, and maybe it doesn't apply to you. But I just want to say that career development is a process. You need to take time. You need to understand yourself. You need to understand where you're coming from and where you are going, and what's paint a picture of your destination, and then kind of map yourself into how you want to get there. So if I look at my own journey, so I studied biochemistry at Kenyatta University in 2000. I graduated in 2011, and from there, at first, I think I was like just tired of everything, and I like, banking and insurance. That's where most of us always end up. But then I changed my mind and just started. I decided to pursue higher education. Lucky enough that the first ever master's scholarship I applied for, I got it. So I didn't go through the hardships that some of my colleagues probably experienced. So I did my master's from 2011 to 2013. No, from 2012 to 2013, I was in United Kingdom. So I did a taught master's program, and then I came back to Kenya. And then luckily, because of the good networking that I had done at Cambry, where I did my internship, one of the PIs there was able to refer me to ICRF. So when I came back, I got a job immediately at ICRF to do some sort of consultancy. I somehow realized that in Kenya, we have got too many microbiologists, too many virologists, too many parasitologists. And so for me, I was like, I don't see myself jumping into that field because it's already crowded. So that's what drove me to pursue in cancer biology, to be specific. So I applying for PhD scholarships, and this is where I had a lot of trouble, because out of the 13 applications I did, I only got one. And so this is to tell you that don't give up. Yeah, sometimes you'll be lucky, like I was lucky for my master's, and I got it immediately. And sometimes you'll have to do several applications. And I think Gideon here, or even just to that, you don't get it the first time. So do you give up, or what do you do? So I did my PhD in Germany between 2015 and 2018, finished that, and then from there, there are different paths I could have taken. I could have gone to industry, either to work in research. I could have gone into consultancy because they need a lot of PhDs, or I could have also gone into private business if I wanted to. But I decided to stick in the academic path because passion is to be an academic professor in the line of cancer research. So from there, I went to Yale in the United States from 2019 to 2021, where I did my first postdoctoral training, still in the field of cancer biology. So I left Yale in April, and currently I'm I've just started my second postdoctoral training at the University of Copenhagen in Denmark. So still in the same field. So it's a very long process. That's what I want to say. It's a very long process, but because I had already painted a picture of where I want to be, I knew that these are some of the steps that I have to take. So it's cold, you miss ugali, you miss samaki, you miss kumawiki and all these things, but you know, I know where you want to get to. So you keep yourself occupied in the picture that you've painted at the end. So I don't want to dwell more on who am I or what I'm doing, but I just want to, like, you know, interests. Some things that I've encountered from my mentors or from people that I interact with. Oh, the first thing that one of my mentors taught me or asked me is that, how does your CV look like? Do you take time to write your CV well, properly, so that when I look at it, I'm impressed by what I see? Because before I meet you, it's your CV that tells me who you are. Yeah. So how do you structure that? Is it formatted well? Is it written in a coherent manner? Can I see from page 1 what you've done, and you know, whether it's paid work, whether it's unpaid work, whether it's volunteering, whether it's you know, community work? What have you done with your life? Because sometimes I realize that some of the things that most of these employers or people who are interested in getting your services or training you, they want to see, who are you besides your academic qualifications? Because everybody who is applying for a scholarship, automatically they have good grades. So what makes different from the others who have good grades? And that's why I think it's very important to enrich your life with different activities, whether it's paid or not. Just, you know, find something to do, find a project that you can take from one point. I can give an example. One of the reasons I think Commonwealth shared scholarship, I always tell myself that I don't think the reason, but I convince myself that that is the reason, is that in the course of university studies, Mombasa, there was this private girls' school that was taking girls that were on them an education instead of them, you know, engaging in premarital sex and having, like, you know, children out of wedlock. And, you know, I started coaching them football, and we were able to, like, you know, win the Mombasa district championship. And that is something that I'm always proud of. I still have those pictures to date. So I made sure that in my personal statement, I described that project very, very well. So besides my academic applications or achievements, these people saw that, oh, he can also do something else on the side. So do these things. These things are very important. They may look useless to you, or they may look like, oh, it's a waste of time or whatever, but they are very important, because even for me right now, position now, I'm allowed to even start supervising PhD students. I'm not looking at grades. I'm looking at what kind of person is this. Is this somebody who communicates well? How does he interact with others? What is he doing besides studying? And that is very, very, very important. So engage yourself in community projects, engage yourself in volunteer work. And I know we have got so many organizations that really need volunteers, from the Red Cross to AMREF to, like, you know, so do these things. And then the second thing that one of my mentors asked me is that, what is the sole purpose of your education? Why are you learning? Because that's very, very important. Why are you learning? Are you learning because you want to make more money? because if I think you're in the wrong place, you should go into business. Academic profession, I think the learning process is as important as the learning process is as important as the money-making process. But you're going to start making money immediately you finish that, because some of us, when we finish our masters, now we want, we want with, like, a big title and things like those. But that's, in fact, we are constantly having these discussions with a number of my peers, because even the number of permanent and pensionable jobs there. So in simple terms, Kiswahili, masomo ni yako. It's for enriching your own experiences, for satisfying your own curiosity, and maybe you get to do something important in society. So that's a question that my mentor asked me, and this is because before, when he asked why do you want to do a master's degree, or why do you want to do a PhD, and it was like, yeah, because I want to make more money. It was like, it's not what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you go sell chicken or do farming, or buy a matatu or whatever and get business to make money. In the academic setting, academics don't earn a lot of money. Our local universities are a good example. You see them strike each and every time. Academic, it's to solve a problem. It's passion to make a difference. And unfortunately for our society, especially in Kenya, one of the disadvantages is that because, for instance, here in Europe, yes, academics might not be paid so much, but you see there's a lot of government funding into universities, into research institutes, so they get, like, problems, make drugs, develop biomarkers or diagnostic kits, or find new ways of, like, cleaning water or cleaning the air so that our lives are enriched. But in our case in Kenya, you realize that even university funding is being cut. So apart from the poor pay or the low pay, even funding to universities is also, like, really, really limited. So academia looks like, a doomed space that a lot of us don't want to be in. But yeah, I encourage you, if that's not what's motivating you so much, yeah, then this is why you should pursue a career or why you should pursue higher education. And the other thing that you hear people saying that, oh, my is that for me to get a promotion, I need to get, or I need to do a PhD degree. So the journey of doing, for instance, a master's degree out here is brutal. Hudson can attest to this. It's really uneasy, and your mind must be in the right space. And there is no sliding, like, I'll just sit and at the end of it all, some universities after 4 years you're kicked because you're supposed to have been done with your PhD by then. So yeah, so for me, my motivation to you, or my word to you, is this question before you even pursue a higher education. What do I want for my future? How do I see myself? What do I want to do? And what impact will that have in my society? Decide what you want. You see, this is the reason even why you see in the country right now, our country, Kenya, the number of even more artisans, for instance, if I may use that term, plumbers, electricians, people who do these handcraft careers, it's really, really limited, because some time back we wanted everybody to go to the, because we just see the university, go to university, then all our problems are solved. But then now you have people who have university degrees, but the university degrees, their surrounding, really the purpose of education. For us as an organization, you see, because of the experiences that we have with Cancer Research Kenya, or the Integrated Cancer Research Foundation of Kenya, the sole purpose of driving forward research in the country. And so that's what education is helping us to do. So also ask yourself, before I pursue a master's, PhD, or postgraduate diploma, what is it that I really picture my life to be, and what do I want? Do I want to, or do I want to, like, solve a problem? Then once you clearly understand who you are, then you'll know the right career to pursue. Yeah. So yeah, I'll not take much of your time, and yeah, I'm ready for questions if there.
So thank you so much, Victor, for that insight talk. I think we'll allow Anderson to give his talk in the next 15 minutes before we take in question. Hudson. Yeah, so Hudson, welcome.
Yeah.
You can share your story and just take in from there.
Thank you, Gideon, and all thanks to the previous speakers. Yeah, my name is Hudson Alakonya, and I'll just give a brief summary of what has been said based on my own experience as a Rhodes Scholar. One thing I want you to know, everyone attending this session, is scholarships are not meant for specific individuals or the society. They are meant for everyone, all of you, but only those who take the lead to search for this opportunity to network, to get to know how to write a personal statement, the process of course application, are the ones who are going to get the scholarship. So don't sit there thinking that you cannot join this particular university, or you cannot go to this particular country to study. They are meant probably for people from this region, this tribe, or like these families. Those people know that these opportunities, they are precious, and they have applied several times before, admitted or given a chance to come and study abroad. And then the next thing I want to also share about is the application is tedious, intensive. You have to work hard as much as you can. Getting a scholarship is a life-changing opportunity because, like, you get to study in one of the universities that probably a few people get a chance to go there, and of course, like, it's funded. They pay the tuition, they pay for your stipend, and at the same time get in touch with other students from different countries, professors, and a very huge adjunct in terms of net, very important for your career. And therefore, like, you must work hard regardless of what you're facing. Take time. I always tell those whom I mentor that take 2 or 3 hours a day, whether it's Sunday or Monday, whether you're in school or not, to think about the scholarship if you want it, think about how to write a statement, think about yourself, take time to volunteer, as they mentioned. I think I'll touch it later, like giving something to the society. When you are not in a position to do it better, either financially or in terms of skill, like, try to offer something. It can be mentorship, it can be like joining some groups, it can be just joining some NGO. That is very important because that is what polishes your CV, and that is what, I don't know, the funder. And so the process is intensive. You have to work on the paperwork. At the same time, you also want to try to ensure that you do something out there which will add value to your CV. And it needs patience and perseverance. Like there are those who apply the scholarship once and then they get the opportunity because they have been preparing. But there are those like who have to apply, you get a reject, probably like you don't get to the interview stage, and then get to the interview stage, you fail. So that is not permanent failure. The only time when you fail is when you give up. Otherwise, anytime you get rejected, take time to reevaluate yourself, take time to go through your statement, put yourself in the interview scenario and ask yourself questions. What is it that I did that didn't make me to be shortlisted to be awarded the scholarship? Try the second time. You'll have a better statement. You'll perform very well than the previous time in the interview. You fail, try the third time. So for my case, like Victor Oria mentioned, I had to apply the scholarship 13 times. So when I was in second year of my undergrad, that was in 14, I applied in 2013. I applied for one scholarship, Westminster scholarship. I got a reject. When I was in third year, applied twice. I got rejects. In fourth year, applied twice, got rejects. And then in 2016, January, that is when I finished my studies. That year, I applied a total of 9 scholarships, most of which were rejects, but I ended up getting the Rhodes Scholarship, which brought me to the University of Oxford. So the power of persistence. The more you try, the more you improve knowledge-wise, the more you correct the mistakes you made in the previous statement, interviews, and that increases your chances of getting that scholarship. And of course, you all know that most of these scholarships, they want you to have at least a second class upper and above. And so for those of you studying, this is an opportunity for you to much hard, not just to enjoy, like most of us usually say, that when you go to the university, it's a chance for you to explore. That is, those most of the people usually go to do their undergrad and then they spend much of the time just partying, doing their own thing. They don't attend classes. You end up graduating and then you don't get a good grade. It becomes difficult to get a job. But if you really want to have fun on these arts, then focus on your education right now. Get to have a chance to travel where you want, to go for holidays, and to do whatever you like. You deny yourself social life. But what I'm trying to say is, if you are up to getting a scholarship, then you must know that most of these scholarships require you to have a minimum of second class upper and above. And of course, those with the distinction will be given an upper hand, but our cases where somebody with a second class upper went to the interview with somebody with a distinction, and the second class upper got a chance. Why? Because most of these guys who get first class, they are book oriented. So they don't go to the ground to see where they can apply the knowledge that they are from the book. So you are reading, you get good grades, but can you apply the knowledge? Do you take time to interact with other people, like to get to know their problems? Do you take time to volunteer, like in other organizations, just to serve humanity? Like that is what gives you an upper hand if you have a second class upper compared to somebody who was a distinction. And then regarding the personal statement, I think one of the most important ingredient that you must have on the table is your passion. So what are your interests? So you emanate from life experience. Like for instance, how did I find myself in the field of oncology? I lost a great uncle in 2007 and I wanted to become a medical doctor. I couldn't get a grade to pursue medicine, but still I found myself in the field of science. That undergrad, which was microbiology and biotechnology at Technical University of Mombasa, helped me to identify what I can do in the field of oncology. And so that is how I found myself where I am today. So passion will always shape your academic plan and your career plan. And if you are passionate about something, you can't help to drive away from it. So there are those who say, I want to be a doctor, but are you really passionate about it? Because passion is what gives you persistence, patience, and hard work. Otherwise, like when you are still young, somebody will ask you, do you want to become? a doctor. Yeah, because like being a doctor is a prestigious job and you save lives, but do you really want to become that particular person? So your passion is very important, and always follow your passion. If you follow what you in the society, you can never lose on it. You only want to be patient and to work hard as much as you can when you're still young like this, and then of course to persevere during the journey, and then you'll get what you want. And then I think also there is these myths in Kenya that probably like these scholarships are also meant for people who studied in big university. That's not the case. University of Mombasa, and by the time I went there, like there was no student from that university who had gotten a chance to come and study in the UK. But I was determined to get the scholarship. That's why I started applying when I was in my second year. In an interview, I faced guys from Strathmore, University of Nairobi, KU, and they wanted only 2 Kenyans. And still, from Technical University of Mombasa, I managed to get a chance to come to the University of Oxford. So regardless of where you are studying, what you should focus on is getting good grades and also polishing your CV, know your passion, follow your passion, and it will help you to. And I think the other thing I want to talk about is non-academic involvement. And there are those who hide their eyes in books, proud, but they don't use the skills they gain from the paperwork to also dispense them out there and make a difference. And what I'm trying to mean is, do you want to involve yourself in things such as leadership in the university? Do we have some problems where you come from, your community? We have problem of school dropout. We have problem of early pregnancies. Our elderly people facing challenges. We have so many problems in the society. Can you spare some time either during the weekend, during evenings, to try and do something that can make a difference in the society? And one of the things that I always believe in, if you are able to do something for free right now, assuming that you can volunteer to work for a particular organization for free, you are not just getting the skills like to boost your CV or like getting the networks, but you are demonstrating given resources and then skills, you can be able to do that work on a larger scale and even do it better. So if you can do something for free and you do it well, then given a chance to do it on a larger scale with resources, then you are going to be one of the people who are going to change the society. And I think that is the most important hallmark of scholarship application or winning a scholarship. They also tend to listen to those people who want to change the world. The reason why you're applying for the scholarship is not about getting a good job in your university of choice. These people are looking for, most of them are philanthropists, most of them are like organizations interested in the society. So they are looking for people who want to transform. So how do you demonstrate that? What is it that you have been doing either in primary school, high school, right now, to at least offer some form of service to others which can make a change? And I'm talking about if it's leadership, I'm talking about if it is those youth groups, if it's football, if it's rugby, because even if it's sports, like you entertain the people, and that is one way to solve the problem of mental problems and stress among the people. So do something that is non-academic oriented, and that adds value to your CV, that also boosts your interview performance, and of course the whole scholarship application process. And then the other thing is you need to know what you want to do. As I mentioned, passion will always determine your academic journey. Your academic journey will always determine your career plan. So where is your passion coming from? Life experience? Do you look up to somebody? So specifically, what interests you about that particular person? What is he or she doing that makes you feel that in the future I also want to be this particular person? do you have a particular challenge in the society that you have experienced, or like your fellow family members or like friends are experiencing, that makes you feel that if I pursue this particular academic journey, it can help me to come back to make a difference in that society? Then your academic journey, and of course now I want to talk about the career plan. So when you are writing a statement, you have mentioned about the person, you have mentioned about the problem in the society. Ensure that you tell these people, studies, what would you like to do? Of cancer in Kenya, and then you are telling them, when I finish my master's and PhD, I want to go and work in the where you are. So who is going to solve the problem back at home? So try to come up with a strategy, the career plan that will help to solve that particular problem. So immediate career plan. When you come back to Kenya, do you want to join policy making to help to alleviate the problem? Do you want to start an NGO? Do you want to join the ministry of any particular ministry? Do you want to become a lecturer? And what is it that you want to do? Don't just tell us that I want to be a medical doctor. To change that will solve the problems that you mentioned, that will improve the status. Your academic plan is very, very important, and try to be generous. Don't studying because you want to earn the amount of money, or like you want this particular title, or this has been your career dream. Tell us that you want to pursue this career because there are these problems in the society, and I want to be one of the people who want to solve those problems. And I believe that is the information that you need to statement. And if you really want to get a scholarship, then from today, spend 1-2 hours, think about the scholarship. You want to know which scholarship opportunities are available: Rhodes Scholarship, Chevening, Gates, Cambridge, university-based scholarship, government-based scholarships. I think Gideon talked about that. When do they open for application? So if you know the timeline you need for application, of which most of them are invariable, each year, prepare in advance. You must have started the preparation in January or even last year, working on your CV, the statement, like what is it that they need in that particular statement? What is it that I have not been doing before the applications open for to work on them? Course, about the courses, you also need to know when you should apply for the course. So one specific course in mind. If you have a related course, then do an internet search, masters in oncology in the UK, or like in the USA, or in Canada, or wherever you want to go, and at least 5 or 10 universities offering something related to that. Go to their websites and get to know information on which skill sets are you likely to gain. Is that what you really want? And requirements needed during the application process, have that with you so that you know that I'm supposed to begin my application. But before that, statement, I need to work on the statement of purpose for course application. That is really, really important. And then you also want to know require the need to apply concurrently, like the Rhodes Scholarship, you have to apply, get a scholarship, and then some scholarships such as Chevening, you apply concurrently. So you're applying for the scholarship, and then some scholarships require you to have gotten an admission slot in a particular university before you do it, before you apply for. I think the main point here is, like, you need to know what you want to do, whom you want to become. After that, sorry, somebody I think was trying to call me. Yeah, so you need to know what is it that you want to do, whom you want to become, and then where do I want to study? What is it that I want to study? And you have to start today. Otherwise, if you are in the first year, this is the best time to start working on your grades. also this is the best time to start working on the scholarship application process. That will help you to get the scholarship. Like I got the scholarship before graduating. I think it was almost a few weeks before I graduated. Those who have to wait probably 1-2 years, and then like there are those who probably realize 5 years later that I need to do a master. That is when you start the preparation. But if you can start today, then you increase your chances of getting the scholarship as early as possible. And I think that is the information I want to share with you. Yeah, work on your passions, work on your academic goals, work on your career goals, work hard. And I can tell you these scholarships are meant for people like you. And of course, I have mentors, like people who can go through your statements and then they give comments. They help you to improve on your statement. And then of course, people who can just the person you want to become in the future. And that is all I had. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Anson. So I'm going to read out the question. I don't know if you guys have any questions. You can switch on your mic as I try to share the questions that I have picked so far. So I think the first question which was asked was by Faith. And I think Victor has tackled that question. Basically, it was about career-wise. What do you do after your PhD and after you come back? I think Victor has already touched about that. Then there was a second question by Anthony Gikari, and he asked that he's a master's student who has already enrolled. And he was asking, can you apply for a master's scholarship abroad? And then do you need to quote the status that you are already a master's student, or you just assume that you are a bachelor's degree student? That the rest I'll give to the panelists. If you're a master's student who has already enrolled for a course here in Kenya, I would not advise you to say that you're already a master's student, especially if you are applying for a master's degree, because this scholarship committees, they'll see that a master's, why do they need to pay for another master's for you? I would suggest that you masters, unless they try and find out, concentrate, say you are a degree student. The question of Nami, and he asked if age is a factor when applying this scholarship. I think Hudson, you can point out because of issues with age.
Yeah, so it depends. I think scholarship should be the only scholarship. It's the applicants by age. You should be 4 years, less than 24 years by the time you are applying. So, like this year, it's open. September this year, usually, as if you want to be considered for the scholarship. If you are doing age 26, I think for these other scholarships, such as Chevening, Commonwealth, University have age limits, but it's always very important before you apply for any scholarship. Like, you don't want to waste your time like working so hard on it and then only to realize when you're about to submit that you don't meet the age criteria for that scholarship. So always try to check before you apply any scholarship to create the account and then you start filling out the information. Before you make any scholarship application, download the scholarship requirements, go through them. If you meet the criteria, then make the application.
Okay, thank you so much, Anderson. The next question was by Stephen Ochieng, and he asked that there was this notion about waiting for 2 years before you degree. So I think, Victor, you can tackle that question. Do you need to wait for 2 years before you apply for a master's degree?
I think it's relative. It's a relative thing. I mean, if you know what you want, you just go for it. Because there are some scholarships that also require science post your bachelor's degree. So yeah, those ones will require, say, 2 years or 1 year. Most scholarships are like that. It just depends on, is it the right time for you? Are you ready for it? And I think they also look at, you know, now they look at gaps, because if you say you finished your bachelor's degree in 2010 and 21, and now you want to start doing a master's degree, there's definitely something amiss somewhere, you know? So I would say, you know, one after the other, it's actually way better, because then, but don't just do them. Don't just, like I said before, don't just apply for a master's scholarship or a PhD scholarship because you just want to feel good about yourself. Have a purpose. Yeah. Why are you doing it? Yeah, because it's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of time away from your country, your family, your loved ones. If, for instance, you're married or you're in a partnership, yeah, it's a lot of time and commitment. So think about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. So I can see that Faith Kamau, I think they've raised their hands. So Faith, I think let me give you the opportunity to ask your question. You can unmute yourself. You're welcome.
Yes, Victor touched on my question, but in particular, I was referring to, you find that most of you, like mentioned, you have left your family back and you want to make a comeback, and in particular to biological sciences, of which most of you are in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So the path back home is my question.
Okay, so I think number one, we have to acknowledge that in the field of life sciences or biological sciences in general, a little bit narrow. Our field is mostly virology, microbiology, maybe infectious diseases, a bit of public health, but life sciences is wider than that. And when you come out, realize that it's, so yes, there are people who finish their PhD and they go back to Kenya and you'll get a job immediately as a lecturer at the university. There's a lot of stagnation. Yeah, a lot of them that I talk to, they complain a lot about, oh, I've not been able to progress to the next level. Said before, also the research landscape in Kenya is also very minimal in terms of like funding, in terms of expertise in certain areas. So it's a question of thinking about what you want. Yeah, and if I use my case, for instance, I finished my PhD in 2018, and I've decided to stay out here for a while first to gain more experience, so that at least when I decide to come back home, I may enter influence or in a position of power, you know, so that then I can have the resources to do research the way I want. I can have the power to, like, you know, make demands or requests if because there are some things ukiingia kama lecturer you can't call the shots. Yeah, but if you get in at, like, say at senior lecturer level or at associate professor level, then you have some sort of power and you can make, you know, you have a knowledge but power to make, like, you know, and effect real change. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult being pia iko na siasa zake, yeah. For sana sana ukabila and also, like, you know, lack of meritocracy, it's spoiling even our institutions, because unaajiriwa, unajua nini, you see, and that has got a trickle down effect, because even the quality of education that most of our students at the university levels wanting, and it's because the people that are employed at the top, a lot of them don't deserve to be there. And I say this with the utmost humility. Utmost humility. A lot of them don't deserve to be there. So it affects everyone down the food chain. And you see, maybe you even know your friends who are very good in certain disciplines, but after their first degree, they leave. I'm actually right now supervising a master's student at Jake. The level of frustrations he's going through, I mean, he's not degree in 5 years. He might not even be able to finish it this year. This will be the 6th year. Kind of things, I think, are the things that are discouraging people also from, like pursuing education in Kenya. But I think we will sort this out. Yeah, we are changing by it now. Tutafika tu hapo mahali tunataka kwenda.
Okay, I think we will take a lot of questions. So next from Daniel Karaoke, and he's asking, do you wait before enrolling for a master's? How long does it take before you enroll for a master's? Let me request Linda to tackle that question. Linda, how long did you take?
So normally I'm in a year in the master's subsequent year, you then owe scholarship at the same time. So the scholarship deadlines are usually for the actual admission deadlines. So hence it's important what scholarship might be available to you and start applying. And then in parallel, make sure you identify that you want to enroll in it as well. I hope that answers your question, but if you have any further, please do say.
Okay, thank you, Linda. So the next question was by John Cole, and he asked that the issue about English tests, to have the English test. So Tracy, to try and answer that question. There's some university which require you to have English test.
So the English test, as I said before, please check the requirements of the particular scholarship. If it requires you to have a TOEFL test, unfortunately, you have to go and enroll and apply and pay for the test. If a scholarship does, there are some scholarships also in different countries. You need to have other languages other than English. So these are some of the things that you need to check. If it's a technical requirement, unfortunately, there is no other way around it, but you have to do the
let me add
Yes.
something. Yeah, most usually require you to have done either IELTS or the TOEFL exams. I think nowadays that they are not making it as a mandatory requirement, or some universities are already putting it down. Like when I was applying for my PhD at Oxford, I had just write the English waiver letter. Especially if you are from a Commonwealth country, you can give reasons such as your education has been in English, and of course examined also in English, and then you provide evidence of transcripts, and university registrar to write a letter for you to support that. So always just check to ensure if you can submit the English test score waiver letter, they can accept or not. If they cannot, then you have to do the exams. But I think nowadays most universities and even scholarships accept the waiver letter. But that doesn't mean that you don't do the exam, because having done the exam is also a demonstration to the interviewers that this is somebody who's really passionate about what they are looking for, or like going to study abroad. So if you have money, then just take the exams.
Okay, thank you so much. question, and I think I've been told, Anne, you have raised your hand. And kindly, if it was your question, Anne. Okay, I don't think she's around. So we move on to the next question, is which is basically an issue about community, which has come up from majority of you guys. Mabonga has asked that question. There's also Moses Mapesa has also asked that question. So how do you know that the scholarship being displayed is authentic? Hudson, what do you think? How do you know that?
Okay, I think fraudulence is a problem everywhere, and of course on internet. Like, we have a lot of scam emails and links. That goes back to prior preparation. If you are really up to getting a scholarship, then you need to do thorough research to know which scholarships are genuine. Write them down. The thing you do is, if I get an email for a scholarship name, and then I do the Google search, it will take you direct to the scholarship website. So if it's a good scholarship, then definitely you get a genuine website. But the most important is do early preparation, get to know which scholarships are available and which ones you qualify to apply and when to apply. That is really important. Otherwise, if you are just waiting for an email, then you'll always get in contact with those scam links.
Thank you so much, Hudson. Then we have the second last question, which is was by Timothy Odhiambo, and his question was: do we have scholarship at degree level? Tracy and Linda, maybe to comment about that.
Oh yes, scholarships are available at all levels, even degree level. You can get a scholarship. So possibly as you're searching, as you're asking around, ask for degree levels. But even here at Nile Basin, we do have scholarship. That means undergraduate. It is available.
Linda?
Yeah, I think I don't have much to add to that. So I think Tracy mostly answered the question. I think some scholarships do have particular requirements, course requirements. So some are just for example, master's courses. Some might be specifically for doctoral studies, and some might be for undergraduate studies. So just identify first what course you'd like to do, and then seek whether that matches the requirements of the scholarship. Just so you don't end up applying for something that you then can't take up just because it's not matching. But I think Tracy covered everything else.
Okay, thank you. So I think Anne, she's around. Let me just ask this question, Victor. Anne, she asked, what next after accepting the scholarship? What is the next?
I mean, it's really obvious. Yeah, if you applied for the scholarship and you got it, then you'll get official communication from the scholarship body, and they will guide you on the process. And mostly it's just now visa application and preparing for a flight, I think. There's nothing you can do to prepare yourself, because it's just a new experience, I would say. Yeah. So you just go there and see if you like it, and yeah, if you like it, you stay. If you don't like it, there's always home. You can go back at the end of your studies. Yeah. Maybe you can celebrate after you get the scholarship, you know?
Victor, our last question, let me answer this by Felix Olinga. Is for medical courses without a grading, how do they check for the criteria? So I think So we don't have grading. So what happens is that they normally check, of course, the transcript, because majority of the scholars at the transcripts. How did you perform by looking at someone's transcript about there? So basically, they just check script. Question was by someone. I can't get her name. Was about spouse. So if you have spouse, how do you survive? Answer.
What is going to sustain your spouse and your family's education, right? Because when you start dating, most of the time you always focus much on love, but as you grow, you realize that what brings that, what fortifies that love and brings happiness is education and career. And if your partner has gotten a scholarship and is going to study abroad, then definitely you need to be patient with them and to support them. As Victor mentioned, studying abroad is quite intensive and onerous, and so you need very clear and I think clear and stable mind. And therefore, if you have a partner, then I think try to give them try to check on them, and if that partner, of course, was meant for you, definitely they can also mentor you to get a scholarship, or they can help you to join them. So it's all about understanding, but always get to know that studying abroad is difficult, so you need to be more caring and supportive to your spouse if they are studying abroad.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'll take 3 more questions before we wind up the meeting. A question by Faith, and she's asking any tips on selection of a supervisor. Maybe Victor, you can answer that.
Yeah, I would say that especially at the PhD level, the most important thing that you should consider is a supervisor project. If you have people with amazing projects, nice projects, but the supervisor is the worst possible time. And some have projects that don't work, but the supervisors are great, and they end up really enjoying the process, learning from it. And yeah, so the supervisor, your supervisor, is the most important part of your either doctoral and postdoctoral training. That's the, yeah. Don't care so much about the project.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I think one great way, as Victor said, to find out is if there's a website for the particular addresses associated researchers, then it's quite a good idea to contact a PhD student or a postdoc for researcher in the actually the person is like as a supervisor. So you can get in touch with fellow students and ask them about some inside information about that, I think, because I would agree, I think the supervisor is incredibly important.
Thank you so much. I think we'll take the last question. Anne, unmute yourself. Or something. Not really. Please do. And we have Daniel Karaoke, who's asking a quick question. In the UK, US, Denmark, is there a legal provision allowing international students to work part-time? Hudson?
So I'll share information based on my experience in the UK. So if you get a postgraduate scholarship in the UK, you are given an entire and that permits you to work for only 20 hours, maximum of 20 hours per week, which is like, I think 8 hours per month, 8 hours per month, but I think most jobs are well paying, so getting some significant money.
And finally, our last question is by Jess Rwamba, and she's asking, are there available homes that you don't have to relocate? So let me answer that question. Yes, there are a lot of online master's program. I'm doing an online master's program. So there are online master's programs which are there, and they are also so available. I think we'll be sharing several links to some of these scholarships, and we'll share some online programs. There's also a question by Maboga, and he was asking, if you ask a question to do with the religious values, lesbianism, gayism, and you know what you hold as your view is opposed to that of the sponsor, do you refuse to answer if optional, or you answer if they expect? Tracy, I think you can tackle that question.
Okay.
Honestly, this is a hard question, but one thing that you need to do is, as you're doing your research, please know which country you're going to. They believe in what is their religion majorly. They're mainly Islamic, so there are some things obviously that come by the sea. So when you're answering some of these questions, please also know what their beliefs are, what the beliefs of the person who is asking you are. Most important than what your beliefs are.
Yeah, probably
and to add that, I think Hudson was already going to say, go ahead. What I was going to say is that in most European countries, as well as in the UK or the US, it will say in the application portal, but there's actually laws against discrimination based on sexuality or religion. And so all the data they collect is really anonymized information on how many applicants they get from different ethnic backgrounds, but they wouldn't ever use that information against you, or be able to select or use that for you later in that. But sorry, so just make sure you check where you're going beforehand.
Well, thank you. So yes, Anderson.
True. Yeah, I think I wanted to add something on this. One thing that gives us a sense of identity and, of course, happiness as human beings is what we believe in. We actually are able to achieve what we want or to be happy because of our own beliefs. So it can be religious, it can be other social beliefs. And one of the things that we as human beings, we always fail knowledge that there is a lot of heterogeneity, like next to me is a lady, I'm a Christian, the other person to me is an atheist, and all that. Do is believe in what you believe in and do it like with freedom. But that somebody close to you or far from you who hold different opinions is your enemy, and you tend to discriminate them. The Christian, that is what nourishes my soul and what gives me the desire to do what I'm doing. The next person is an Islam, what makes him whom we are. So we can learn to coexist by being open-minded, in believing what you believe, practice what you believe, what works well for you, and of course also provide for an opportunity for the other people to also live happily, because the main reason why we live on this earth is to be happy, and to be happy is to do what we think is good for us. Somebody being a Muslim and you are a Christian or lady, and then you are a man, can prevent you from achieving what you want. And like, if the next person close to you is a Muslim and you are a Christian, I don't see how they can stop you from getting a scholarship and all that, or like how they get into your mind. It is you who focus on those particular people that is a problem. But the main point here is believe in whom you are, but also give a provision for other people to pursue their own interest and happiness. That is just my own views.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, so don't go and say like I'm a Christian. I don't think a Muslim is a true religion, or like I'm a Christian. I don't think atheist is a good thing for the world, or like I'm a heterosexual. I think probably gays deserves this and this. No, it's not supposed to be like that. Just believe in what you believe and allow other people also to believe in what they do, and that is what brings happiness and peace on this earth.
Thank you so much, Hudson. So I think we have overrun by 4 minutes. Let me last question, then I'll invite Victor, our guest, and also to invite one of our listeners close for us our meeting. Anne, and she's at the master scholarship abroad. By the time we should be reporting, expected in what happened in such circumstances. Let me try and answer. If you are that you really did the one, because there's some scholarship which have very strict deadlines and time frame. So if you win a scholarship that it is very highly restricted, they'll actually just cancel your opportunity. But there are other type of scholarship that are very flexible and accommodative. They can even give you a deferment for 1 year, so that you bring up your kid and so on. I think that's the best answer. To close our meeting, unless our anything to say, then Victor will invite one of our listeners to finally join our meeting. Thank you.
Gideon, I think you forgot to mention on our website, that is Integrated Cancer Research Foundation of Kenya, or just ICRF Kenya. So we have where we will be sharing scholarship opportunities and all the relevant information or requirements for that particular scholarship. So also take time to visit our website, or just Google ICRF Kenya, the education program website page, and I think that is where we'll be advertising the scholarships.
Thank you. There's someone.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just wish to say thank you for this session. It was so informative, and I would wish you'll do a follow-up, say get any other informations or updates concerning the same topics. So just a thank you for all of you guys.
Oh, thank you. I think mine is just to echo what my colleague has said. You guys feel appreciated. I think you thought about us. Some of us to maybe apply for scholarship or do courses that are not available in our country. But I think it was quite insightful, and thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.